Due to a high level of interest in what the deal was with this Ford Ranger, I went ahead and made a video about my findings. I didn't do the step-by-step on how to pull the head and all that, but surprisingly it was a better experience than I thought. I was able to wire the chain onto the cam. I was able to mark top dead center, or the position, timing position. For the rest of it all stays intact, the other 3 timing chains. And I was able to put a rubber band around the tensioners, the guides, the timing chain guides, and get it to hold in place to where it's staying, you know, in great shape. So I'm loving it. I marked the back of the cam wheel and the cam, so I'll be able to line those up. So it wasn't as bad as what it was made out to be. Anyway, it's a long video, but it's a big job. So enjoy. And the narration is horrible, the lighting's okay, but this is one of those things where I was just cranking it out, trying to get it out there and give you guys something to see, some answers. See? See, now we're getting interesting. I got down below the intake manifold and it's full of antifreeze, and it looks like it's been, you know, just kind of, I want to say that it's molding. It looks like mold, but it's just been creating deposits in here for quite some time. It looks like it may be having to do something with the water outlet here, but it's impossible to say now. Before I put everything back together, I'm going to get it this far and I'm going to fill up the coolant and give it a pressure test and see what it does. I'm thinking that perhaps this thing overheated really good and something happened to blow out the valve seat at cylinder 5. So this coolant leak, apparently it also had mice in it. There's mice droppings on that freeze plug there, but I think the coolant leak's coming from back in here. That's where the wetness is. So I'm going to pull that and put a new gasket in it before all is said and done. That's the thermostat housing, and also home to the coolant temperature switch and coolant temperature sensor. So that's the way that the cylinders are. You can see these pistons, they get almost all the way up. I mean, they just get right up there, so you can't have your valves open when they're at the top. I already covered that. But this is the cylinder that was misfiring, and you can see where the spark plug goes in. That's where I was injecting air. So it's just filling this little cavity when I had it up at the top. Just filling that little cavity full of compressed air. You can see a little wetness here as I pulled the intake manifold off and the fuel injectors and everything. A little bit of fluid spilled in. You can see the trace where the fluid got through past that valve. Also, when you take the head and look down into where the valves are, see if I can get a good shot on this. This is going to be tricky. Son of a gun. Tricky it is. So it's kind of late at night. I've been working on this for quite a while, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm not my sharpest anymore. But anyway, when you look down in there, you can see just a tremendous amount of carbon buildup on that valve, on that intake valve. When you look at the other ones, they look quite... This light isn't working for anything. Let's get one of these. See, there you go. You can see that there's a whole lot of caked on carbon buildup on that one. When you look at the other 2 valves, there's a little bit, but not very much. Fortunately, it looks like the valve guide's okay. I don't see any cracks or any damage to that. Let's see, this one looks pretty clean. There's nothing caked on it. It's got a general silver color all the way around. There's a little bit of fuel and antifreeze or something that spilled in there during removing the head, but this one, as you can see, it's just covered in crap. I think that's what's keeping it open, and I think what caused the crap to build up to begin with is the lifters got full of tar and carbon themselves. You mix engine oil with, you know, just ash and things from the combustion process, and it causes valves to not close all the way. So here's the lifters. I've gone through and cleaned out a couple of them, and they're just full of tar. So I think that's what led to it, but I'm not certain. But I'll be tearing it down tomorrow, and then I'll know the rest. So as you can see, this is the intake, or it goes to the intake manifold, and then this is the intake valve. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this flashlight and I'm going to put it up in there, and you'll see a little crescent moon right here. I'm not going to move the camera. I'm just going to leave it in place. You see the light that's coming through there? That light's where the air is going when I was filling that full of compressed air in my other video. A cylinder misfire that has nothing to do with the ignition. So that's where the compression gases are getting out. As far as I can tell, it looks like it's leaking, you know, pretty well around. It's pretty well carbonized. You know, on this side it's all open. So we'll pull the valve and see if it's bent. So I got to use my tool. I finally got it back. So anyway, this thing's cool. It's got magnets in it. You just stick it over the top of this. Keepers and everything, it just sucks them up. What you do is you hit it with a hammer. Bam, you have rags and a bunch of stuff under here, and put it on the workbench. Makes it awesome for pulling them out. Sometimes they're a little tricky to get out of the tool, and then when you go to put them back on, you just put this in there, you know, on the thing, and get them lined up. Whack, and it just puts them right back in. So anyway, that's cool. So here's the seat. The seat's not reduced in any way. It looks like it's totally fine. You can see where it was making contact back here, but it was open all around here. You can see where it's kind of dark. You can see the tracks of where the carbon was going, building up. You can see just tons of carbon buildup on this valve, and it's slightly bent. So my hypothesis about the lifters locking up, I think, is accurate. I think that's what caused it. It's just a bunch of tar buildup in the lifters, and it just hit it funky and bent it. You can see when you go to turn it that it's just not quite right. When you look straight down at it, you can see that it is leaning toward me just a little bit. So anyway, I got a new one coming in the morning. We'll get the valve lapping compound and get it put together. You can see by looking at the cylinder, there's no kiss mark. I mean, these are soft-faced aluminum ones. See scratches at 45-degree angles from the screwdriver when I was checking for top dead center when I was doing the tests, to make sure that I had the valves closed, you know, with the piston at the top. But as you can see, there's no kiss mark. There's no big dent in it from the intake. It would have been on that right side about where that 45-degree mark is.